Hi, welcome to the Shelly Studio. Today I'm working on my 100-day project. I am doing abstracts. If you haven't seen the previous video, I'll link it down below or put the playlist. There'll be a playlist eventually. Down below, I'm using the book, The Secret Lives of Color by Cassia St. Clair, as my inspiration, as kind of a guide of how I'm doing these. And I'm also um, thinking about the grid technique. I've seen a lot of people doing uh, abstracts, like grid journaling with abstracts or whatever, art journals, where they create a grid and then they create a series of little abstracts that way. So that's kind of why those are taped together. And yeah, I guess I'm cheating because I'm doing 4 at a time. But I figure if I'm arting every day, um, it's still okay. Because that's the point of this whole thing, I think. Um, Anyways, so the first 10 days were the white section. And that was lead white, ivory, silver, whitewash, Isabelline, chalk, and beige. So the two on the left there are still in the white phase, so they could consider that beige. I did start my yellow a little soon. I was thinking 6 instead of 10 for some reason. And then when I went back and double checked, I was like, oh yeah, I should be doing 10 in each colorway. But that's okay. The white ones needed a little oomph, right? So adding a little bit of yellow in with those whites didn't hurt them at all. And it's my own rules, so it's okay, right? So the yellow colors, um, which are starting on the right hand side of the grid there, um, is blonde, lead tin yellow, Indian yellow, acid yellow, Naples yellow, chrome yellow, gamboge, orpiment, imperial yellow, and gold. And I say that loosely because this is like the old, like original colors, and I'm using what I have. So I'm just grabbing basically anything yellow that looks like it might work. That's what I'm using. And yeah, I thought it was funny. I was reading about yellow in the book, and it talks about what it represented. And the first sentence or paragraph out of there was this. I'm gonna read it to you because this surprised me, and I never knew this. I took art history. I don't think they talked about colors this way in art history. So Oscar Wilde was arrested outside the Cadogan Hotel in London in April of 1895. The following day, the Westminster Gazette ran the headline, "Arrest of Oscar Wilde, Yellow Book under his arm." So, well, apparently, what decent man would be seen openly walking around the streets with a yellow book? Apparently, the yellow cover of the book implied that the contents of the book were, what? Torrid, I guess is a good word for it. Parisian novel. Anyways, he was sentenced, and I can't remember what he got for it, but yeah, he was found guilty of the Yellow Book. I thought that was so interesting. Um, in fact, artists started using that two of Vincent van Gogh's paintings from the 1880s, Still Life with Bible and Heaped Invitingly Disheveled Piles, Parisian Novels. So it says, for Van Gogh and many other artists and thinkers of the time, the color itself came to stand as a symbol of the age and their rejection of repressed Victorian values. So there you go. That's what yellow means. I will never look at the color the same again. And somebody else, let's see, Richard L. Galeen. And I'm probably murdering all these names. Till one comes to think of it, he writes, one hardly realizes how many important and pleasant things in life are yellow. Well, yeah, I always thought of yellow flowers and positive things like that. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. I have a couple of half circles I collaged on there. Those are gel prints. They were medallion circles, masks from PM Artist Studio. And yeah, I did that in a gel print session using nickel azo gold. I guess that counts, right? Because it's gold. And gold's on my list. This book really talks about colors that are no longer used. A lot of them disappeared to time or whatever. But there's colors that we use nowadays that have the same names. But, I mean, with modern technology, like, I don't know, I'd love to go see how some of this stuff is made. Or learn more about the modern way things are done. But, because we still have Indian yellow and Naples yellow. And I read a little bit about them. I'll get to them. I don't have any Naples yellow. I haven't delved into my Naples yellow yet. I'll get there eventually. I think. But I was reading about lead tin yellow. And it disappeared. And that's not something I've heard used, right? Lead tin yellow. It says it first crops up in around 1300, appearing in Florence in paintings ascribed to Giotto, and then the works of Titian, Tintoretto, and Rembrandt. From around 1750, however, for no obvious reason, use of this pigment began to peter out, and it doesn't appear at all in the 19th century or 20th century works. And more intriguing still is before 1941, no one even knew that it had existed. So they painted with it, but then it died out and then was forgotten about. So in 1941, Richard Jacobi, he's a researcher. He found was studying some paintings and found tin in yellow samples from various paintings, and he began experimenting to see if he could recreate the mysterious yellow pigment, and he discovers how it was he figured out how they did it, and so that's how he figured out about lead tin yellow and why people know about it now if you read the book. Another the stencil I just used was it was one by Robin McClendon, and that little circle dot stencil is a PM Artist Studio special. It was a special for purchasing. I can't remember when. But I think it'll come out in General Pop. What they call it, Gen Pop. Come out and be available for purchase later. It's a series of 4 small stencils. So I've finished the first 4. I got a little bit of paint underneath my washi tape. I'm using washi tape to hold it. I have this washi tape I've had forever and ever, and I'm only too happy to use it up. I'm just looking at each one individually. And then I have this stamp. It's almost like a serial number stamp. And I need to make sure that I get, like, I have the month, the year, and then the number of the card. So that one's 9, this one's 10, 11, 12. You get the idea, right? So once I get those stamped, here are the first 4. There are going to be 2 batches of 4 on this particular video. See, I put a little bit of yellow on those other 2 because I felt they needed some color. I like my half circles down there. So on to the next set of 4. So I don't think I've asked, how is everyone today? I hope you're doing well. Today is going good. I did my taxes. I don't actually have to pay. That's a good thing. Getting a little bit back. This time I added that, I think Dina Wakley calls them color sticks. I added a little yellow color stick in there to go along with the pencil. So the point of that pencil, like, it's just to mess up the page, to make it easier to mess up the page. And I don't mind it showing in the end. I think it's kind of interesting. Makes people wonder what was going on. But here we're really going to get into some yellow. And yeah, I had quite a bit. I added some white. I was trying to dull down this bright yellow. It is really bright yellow. Yeah. And I think this is like Hansa yellow. I have so many different bottles of paint. Yeah, that one was Hansa yellow medium. All right. So did I read I read the list of yellows, right? I did. So while I'm doing this, that's a yellow ochre right there that I just put and mushed in with the rest. I'm gonna tell you about Indian yellow. Now, it says that Indian yellow has disappeared. Well, I guess the original Indian yellow has disappeared. But I know I have Indian yellow in my basket full of paint. I think it's in my Golden or my Liquitex. But let's see. It began making its way to Europe from the East in the late 1700s in the form of powdery balls of a rotten mustard color with bright yolk bright centers, and a distinctive telltale reek of ammonia. Any of you have cats, you know the smell I talk of. Anyways, it was so strong that people knew exactly what, the colormen, which is what they were called, the creators of the color, the mixers and stuff that the artists would go and get their pigments or their stuff to make their paint. They were called colormen. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but anyways, they would know what was coming just by the smell. And the French colorman Jean-Francois Léon Mermy, that's a long name, admitted that the odor was very much like that of urine. He stopped short of making a definitive connection, but others were less delicate, and an acquaintance of an English artist, Roger Dewhurst, told him in 1780s that Indian yellow was possibly made from animals' piss, and strongly advised that the pigment be diligently washed before use. Someone else said it was produced from the urine of camels, but he wasn't completely sure. So in the 1880s, Sir Joseph Hooker, the great peppery Victorian explorer and botanist, decided he needed a more definite answer to the riddle of Indian yellow and its peculiar smell. Hooker decided to make inquiries. So on January 31st in 1883, he dispatched a letter to the India office. And 9.5 months later, he received a reply. Half a world away, and the guy's name is Trilokanath Mukherjee, not sure. A 36-year-old civil servant had seen Hooker's letter and taken decisive action. Indian yellow, or puri, he informed Hooker, was used in India to paint walls, houses, railings, and very occasionally to dye clothes, although the smell prevented the latter from catching on. He tracked the mysterious yellow balls to what he said was their sole point of origin, Mirzapur, a tiny suburb, a town in Bengal, where a small group of Gwalas, milkmen, tended a herd of ill-nourished cows they fed only on mango leaves and water. On this diet, the cows produced an extraordinary luminous yellow urine, about 3 quarts per day per cow, which the Gwalas collected in small earthen pots. Each night they boiled this down, strained it, and rolled the sediment into balls that was gently toasted over a fire and then left to dry out in the sun. Now, there is his letter. Well, I think his letter's lost, but that was the letter. Well, somebody had to have had it for us to know about it, right? But there was no way to verify this. Like, they've gone back in modern times now and gone, and there's no record of it, no memory of it. So even the local Gwalas didn't have the slightest clue what puri was. So they couldn't really prove that that's a true story. But they, even as he wrote it, his account of the cows and the brilliant yellow pigment from their urine, he had an inkling that he might not be believed. Perhaps this was why he sent the report off to Sir Joseph with some corroborating evidence, some small balls of pigment he had bought from the Goalas, an earthen pot, and some mango leaves, and a sample of the urine itself, all of which arrived on November 22nd, 1883. While the urine, pot, and leaves have vanished, the pigment, still faintly malodorous, remains in Kew's archive to this day. I think that's enough color today. I haven't read up on the rest of the yellow. I have a few more yellows to go. Maybe I'll find something interesting in there to tell next week, next chapter. But yeah, I don't know if you noticed the gold collage elements. Those were just gold paint onto tissue paper, and then that I did a while ago, and I just had in my stash and just collaged on. I used a gloss medium for collaging those on because I didn't want to dull the shine of the gold. And the pictures at the end will hopefully you'll be able to tell it's gold and shiny without too much glare. But I hope this this series isn't entertaining you. It's giving me something to talk about. I hope I don't get in trouble for reading out of the book. I'm trying to paraphrase, but there's just some things, I can't. And I'm just giving you tidbits. I'm not telling you everything. Just little tidbits that are funny or interesting. And I hope they're interesting, and I hope you're liking it. And yeah, I'm about done with this one. I love taking the tape off and seeing the individual pieces at the end. That's my favorite part. I mean, I do like creating them, but you just love to see each individual one as it comes along. So I hope you liked that. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Love to hear your comments. Are you enjoying this series? Have you checked out the book? Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day.